morning, world. You're in the office with Joseph Skoda. Today, I'm actually in my office. It doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes my office is on the beach or in a park or in the living room, quite frankly. But it's very important to go out there and get messages out. It's really important to me to interview aspiring artists and people who are movers and shakers in the world. And more importantly than that, people have a real message, have a story that they want to share with the rest of us. So please help me welcome. And right now, you're in the office with Joseph Skoda. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and look me up on all over social media. But right now, we're in the office, not just with Joseph Skoda, but we're in the office with our special guest, Cameron Fetter. How you doing, Cameron?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm very, very excited to be present here on In the Office with Joseph Skoda. Um, Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I appreciate it. If I'm not mistaken, you're from New York. Is that right?
Yes, well, I'm originally from Massachusetts, but I do reside in New York at the moment, New York City, Queens, in fact.
Okay. Been to Queens many times. I would like to say it's really cold in New York, but actually so is Massachusetts. Not a big difference in weather this time of year. It can be miserable.
Yeah, maybe a bit colder in Massachusetts, maybe about a 10-degree difference, but not much.
Not much more.
No.
Well, what made you move to New York?
It was for me the pursuit of art, especially comedy, but I do consider myself to be an upcoming screenwriter, filmmaker, all these things. So I, thought it best to be able to participate in a larger community than, say, Boston or a town like Worcester, for example.
Where I used to live in Bangor,
Mm.
Maine. And I've been to
Stephen King,
Boston.
Stephen
Exactly.
King's
I've been to his
famed
house a
residence.
couple of times. I have a picture of Stephen King pointing a rifle at my brother. He's up on he had a two-story house. He's upstairs and my brother jumps over the fence. They take a picture. So he's up in the living room, right by the window, and I could see above Stephen King with a shotgun
Oh
pointing
my
down at my
goodness.
brother. Picture didn't come out very good, and I'm running to Stephen King many times at the local subway. And he would walk there. He'd be in coveralls, always in coveralls. Just a funny guy. Just a funny guy. You
Mm,
mentioned you were in a comedy, and when I
yes.
first retired from the Air Force, I tried. I thought it was funny. Then I tried stand-up comedy, and I just froze. What's your secret from not freezing up on stage?
Ah, Stage fright. Well, I'd have to confess I do deal with that from time to time as well, when it comes to live performance. Um, I feel that the best way to deal with these kinds of anxieties is to just, I mean, honestly, just do it. Just go through it and maybe you can try one of the tried and true old methods, pretend you're visualizing the audience in the nude or something along those lines. But when it comes to stage fright, sometimes maybe this is poor advice, but alcohol can also be a boon from time to time, of course. But these things, we grow and we learn to deal with them in the course of our careers.
I totally can agree with that. Over the years, I've taken Toastmasters, and that's an organization where we teach leadership and communication skills by the art of public speaking. And now I speak in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. But back in the day, no way.
Mm.
It was very miserable time for me. So, what made you decide on comedy, or is that where you want to be your whole life?
Well, I've always kind of seen myself as a bit of a comedian, a bit of the class clown, I guess you could say. Nowadays for me, it's less stand-up comedy
Sure.
is less my field. I actually am a co-host of a comedy podcast. So not so dissimilar to what you do here, I guess.
Sure.
But my podcast is called Podcast About List, and this was definitely something that I was intending to get into from a young age. I just loved the idea of a comedy podcast. It just feels very important to me, very close to my heart, and that definitely is something I've kind of always been interested in one way or another.
It's funny. We have one of our shows that social media shows network, and one of our shows we comedy shows, and we do all kind of crazy skits. I haven't been involved in a
Skits.
while, but yeah,
I'm a big fan of
skits.
skits.
Those are fun. Anything can happen, and they're rarely pre-rehearsed, so you don't really know what's going to happen until it does. Those
Mm.
are a lot of fun.
Over at Podcast About List, we just completed a series, a 5 week long series that
Yeah,
we called the 5 weeks of planets, which was kind of a I don't know if you're familiar with the planets of our solar system, but we did kind of comedic takes on each
yeah,
planet with each
yes.
episode. So it was 5 weeks, 10 episodes because we do 2 episodes a week. So
Okay.
we covered Mars, Mercury, Venus, all the planets. We did kind of fun songs, a few skits,
Sure, sure.
poems, reports, the whole. I don't know if you guys have ever or have any interest in kind of science in your comedy division, but that was big for us. We had never considered doing anything like that before, but then once we did, it just really clicked.
It's always funny where we something we don't plan to do ends up being like the big hit. It's the
Exactly. It
most
was one of
popular
it
thing.
was huge for us. I mean,
Yeah.
it was the fans all adored it. We loved doing it, and it was truly a blast. I guess you could say it was out of this world,
It's out of this world, out of this world.
literally.
I live right outside of Vandenberg Space Force Base. And I came here for space and missile training. Oh my goodness, almost 20 years ago, and studied space and orbital mechanics. And you have to make it fun. To me, it has to be math or science has to be fun so you can remember it.
Absolutely. That's incredible. I had no idea you were well versed in space and space force and missiles, no less. That sounds incredible. That sounds fascinating.
It was. I'm actually a licensed aircraft mechanic and retired 21 years in the Air Force and just done a lot of different things. And before I retired, I was in the space and missile field. And my son's in the Air Force now, serving in Japan. So a very exciting career path. We all have to make our own path in this world.
Mm.
So, how many people are on your comedy team or on your podcast or your business?
So I can list them off for you. It's me, Cameron Fetter,
Okay.
and then we have Patrick Doran, my good friend. He's also a stand-up comedian, as well as Caleb Pitts, another stand-up comedian. And then
Sure.
our producer is named Julio, and he's lives in Mexico actually. So we're
Okay.
a multinational kind of company. We're called Sullivan the Frog Enterprises LLC. That's our company. And then we from time to time will do Dungeons and Dragons, the game. So we
Ooh.
have another member who that is his purview. His name is, we call him Patches because his name is also Patrick. It's kind of funny to have two Patricks, the
You can't
zany
have two
things.
Patricks, of course not.
Yeah,
You can't have
yeah.
two Joes. I know.
And that's the core group. We have plenty of other collaborators as well, but we find, that small group really makes things kind of tick along well and really it's enough people to keep us with the fresh ideas all the time without getting too crazy.
Yeah, you don't want one person coming with the ideas all the time. It gets kind of boring.
Right, right.
It becomes stagnant. Have you guys ever felt stagnant? Like, I don't know what we're going to do this week.
We've definitely felt stagnant before. I mean, we've had a situation before where we ended up actually using. I don't know. Are you familiar with Mad Libs? The
Yes, I am. Yes, I
yes,
am.
yeah, yeah.
And Dungeons and Dragons, D&D.
Mm-hmm. We ended up using Mad Libs as content for some of our episodes, and while some fans were liked those a lot, other fans thought that was us becoming stagnant. Using these Mad Libs. But we really always try to keep it fresh. We kind of cover a wide range of topics all the time. That's our goal. We've talked about, for example, the anti-Claus, who is he's the antithesis of Santa Claus. He's an evil Santa Claus, and his aim is to take over and destroy Christmas by any means necessary. So we talk about, stuff as crazy as that, while also just
Sure.
sometimes talking about finance and wealth and how to accumulate and gain wealth and hold on to it,
Yeah,
and especially in
sure.
today's world, how to save, smart money strategies and things like that. So it's not always Grinches and anti-clauses. Sometimes we really do try to get serious and come at things from the side of science or
Yeah.
finance or even sometimes faith even.
Oh wow, you touched a little bit of everything. Okay, that's very interesting. You mentioned Andy Claus, and I was thinking Grinch. That was the first thing
So
in
the
my
anti-clause is
mind.
actually different from the Grinch. The Grinch, uh, which yeah, we all know the Grinch.
Yeah,
He's green. The
yeah.
anti-clause looks more like Santa Claus, but with yellow eyes. Would be how I would
Oh,
describe. So the description I'm sure sounds the same, but when you see them side by side, you'd probably be able to tell the difference a little better.
really? So you have is it animation or you have people in costume? How do you go about
Mm.
doing these or portraying it?
We kind of tell stories and we talk about it. It's there isn't much of a visual element. Sometimes, we'll look at pictures, we'll put pictures up on the screen, but
Okay.
uh well we recently did a Thanksgiving play, and we had
Yeah.
one member of our team, dressed as a turkey, one as a pilgrim, etc. But usually, we like to play around with the costumes and dressing people up as stuff. Dressing as elves during Christmas time, dressing for the 5 weeks of planets. We actually each dressed as the planet each week. So,
Really?
for example, you could wear a ring if you were dressing as Saturn.
Pattern, sure.
Dress all red to dress as Mars. So we do actually, although nobody dressed as the anti-claus this year, we do actually have a pretty strong basis in costumes, I would say. That's one of our pieces, our comedy bread and butter.
For me, it's hats. I probably have about 30 different hats. It's kind of my thing. And I have a few costumes when I'm
Oh
out
wow.
there presenting, or of course, you got to
Those
get
are
ready
great
for
hats.
Santa
Oh, that one's
Claus.
perfect for the season.
Exactly. And I'll be doing that later. And I've got top hats and gold hats and glow in the dark. And we all have to have our thing, our knit,
Absolutely.
something people remember us by. And so what's your niche for this? That's Cameron. I remember Cameron.
Mm.
What makes you stand out? Or what do you think makes you stand out?
I would say that people in the comedy sphere typically admire me for my X factor, which
Mm,
is, to define that, I would say that sometimes my brain goes to a place that people wouldn't typically expect, right? I
sure.
think that a lot of people you can write a joke, but for me, I find that my skill is often to say something unexpected or random or find an angle to attack the joke from that a lot of people might not typically get. For example, we were doing uh, on the show
Yeah.
a few months ago. We were singing a song about the Grinch. We were doing a comedy song about the Grinch, and first we were kind of just singing about the Grinch, and then I decided to add in the detail of the Grinch having a swimming pool. And I feel like that, and maybe it doesn't sound so funny just to say it, without the song. I don't remember how the song went.
Have to be there. Have to be there.
Had one of those had to be their moments, I
Yeah.
guess. But I mean, I would guess I would ask you: would you typically imagine the Grinch having a swimming pool?
Not typically, no.
No, so that's, I would say, what I usually bring to the table. And I also write and I can do a bit of everything. So I'm kind of a jack of all trades in that comedy sense. But the X factor,
The
that's what
X
I try to bring to
Factor.
the table.
No, I love it. And even though I do videos and vlogging, I'm also a blogger. But it's been a while. And I used to love writing. It just come to me naturally, but I become stagnant. So I don't do it as often. How do you write screenplays? That's something I do not have a skill for.
Well, it all starts from
Yet.
page one. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that much. It's typically for me coming up with a character, a funny character. So say a caveman,
Yeah.
um, or maybe a wizard, and then from there throwing them into a situation they wouldn't typically be in, like, well, for a swimming pool, I guess would be a good one that I mentioned before. And then from there, that's your page one, line one. A caveman is with a wizard at a swimming pool or something like that, right? And I mean, from there, that could be a solid fantasy movie. Well, probably couldn't be much else with a wizard. But I think the idea is to come up with a bold and daring premise, and
Yeah,
then people will want to read past page one because that's what they always say. The challenge is getting people to read past page one, I would say.
I can agree with
And then
that.
from there, it's just stick to itiveness, I guess, hitting the coffee shop with the laptop and just getting it all written out.
And well, I remember those days. I used to be in the coffee shop for hours with my laptop. I do it from home mostly, but I remember those days
Mm.
back when I was up and coming, trying some different things. I also mentioned that you've done some acting, theater, or what have you done exactly? Or where can we
Well,
find you?
I've done some theater
Hmm.
in high school, uh,
Sure.
and I've actually played um, McMurphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the role that Jack Nicholson plays in the movie. And I haven't touched the theater since then, but I typically
Yeah.
will act in sketches, comedy skits and
Hmm.
sketches.
Hmm.
Is I recently This will be coming out soon, so this is, I guess, a bit of a spoiler. Maybe this hasn't come out yet,
Let
but I
us know. Let
recently
us know.
played. So yeah, nobody spread this, please. I recently played. Do you know the drink Hawaiian Punch?
Yeah.
I played the mascot for Hawaiian Punch in a
Is
comedy skit
that
with
right?
the red hat and
The
the little
the
Hawaiian
the
shirt.
blue and white stripe.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
doing the hula dance. Yeah, exactly.
I do
That one
know.
was very fun. Uh, I played a goth
Yeah.
recently as well on a comedy skit with I had to put on the eyeliner or the black clothing.
Sure,
So
sure.
it's all over the place for me, but it's mostly comedy for sure.
I actually it was 8 years ago. I played a priest in this movie and played a priest, and there was probably it's like a monastery. I think there's like four of us real priests, and one youngster didn't know which way to go because he kind of fell for this girl. It was a lot of fun. It turned out to be a comedy, and regardless of what I attempt to do, it turns out to be a comedy. So sometimes they
Mm.
don't go with it very well. Yeah.
I love things set in monasteries. I think that's such a beautiful setting for I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Black Narcissus. Have you ever heard of this movie?
I have,
It's
but I don't think I've seen it.
it's an older movie
Yeah.
from I believe the 40s, and it's about a group of nuns who colonize a Tibetan monastery. It's really fascinating, really beautiful. I really highly recommend it. It's not
What, what,
not
what,
so much a comedy, but
what's it called? Black?
Black Narcissus.
I'm gonna look that up.
Yes, yeah.
What better Christmas movie can you watch than that during the holidays, right?
Hmm.
Outside the other fun stuff. So, where you going? And I appreciate theater. I thought theater the first time I got tricked into playing a part turned out to be one of the best experiences of my life. And it was a little frightening and scary, but so much fun. Well, where do you see you go in the future? You keep the screenplay or specific focus, or you want to try something totally different?
Well, in the future, I definitely would love to see podcast about list my podcast. I mean, I'd love to see it skyrocket, of course.
Of
Um,
course, of
yeah,
course.
I would love to be, up in the top 10 charts. I think that we're semi-popular at the moment. I think that we could really strike it big if we got the right press or, had the right endorsement from the right person. I really do feel that. So I'd love to be able to do, great big stuff with that. I mean, um, especially having just gotten off the doing the 5 weeks of planets,
Yeah,
I think it would be incredible to be making enough money to be have enough free time to be able to really take the science content to the next level and do things like maybe even visit uh Switzerland and try and visit the particle accelerator, the collider they have there. I mean, that would be incredible,
where it is.
just museum trips as well. I mean, we're really looking to expand further into the science sphere, I think, and for the podcast, that would be definitely where I see it going in the future. But for
Yeah,
myself, I definitely would try to pursue acting more.
sure.
I would love to have a role in a large franchise. I think I could really bring something special to the table. One of these newer movies like Dune or like say even another West Side Story movie. I think anything along the spectrum of, science fiction to a theater type movie, I think I could really excel in, and I think that might be in my future as well.
Great. Do you also sing and dance? Those are always challenges.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I do a little.
Yeah.
I do sing some. Definitely not my strong suit, but I think you could technically consider me a triple threat, I guess, in that regard, the singing, dancing, and acting.
That Well, have you ever had any parents or family members like, "What are you doing that for? Go do something else." Anyone ever try to steer you in a different direction?
Mm. Yes, my parents both wanted me to be a teacher, because my parents are both teachers, and they said that I mean, I did some volunteer teaching work before in my past. I was really, I mean, quite good at it, and so it was kind of difficult for me to break away from that. And I think my parents definitely still harbor some resentment. I think there's probably uh, less communication between us than there could be at the moment, probably as a result of that. I mean,
Sure.
honestly, for me, I think that the planets stuff really is maybe a way to try and bring some of that back and, appease my family a little bit, bring some of the science, the educational content, because I do think that there's a rift there that maybe I caused that I don't feel so good about. But
Yeah,
we follow our hearts.
I know, I know. A lot of artists do fall into that. Because it's hard to be successful, even though we're very creative. We're all born creative, but very few of
Mm.
us.
Well, luckily I am
Yeah,
pretty I did end up being pretty successful. So I at least don't have that burden on my shoulders.
that's a relief. That's a relief. Most people never make it. They give up too quick.
Mm.
Anyone entrepreneur, regardless of what our passion is, that we want to make the money quick, and very few of us do. And then we lose interest and move on to do something we don't like to do. But it seems like you're still doing what you enjoy doing. It's kind of a big deal. That's a really big
Absolutely.
deal. So how do people find? So Cameron Fetter sounds pretty interesting. I want a little bit more about these lists and these planets, and I want to hear
Right.
some of your
Well,
comedy. How do they find?
I mean, the best place to go is on YouTube, podcast about list. We post all of our regular episodes on there. We have premium episodes on Patreon as well. I mean, you can also find us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on pretty much wherever you find podcasts. You can reach us by email as well, podcastaboutList@gmail.com. For me, I mean, I guess you can always follow my Instagram. I don't know why you would, but you can. But it's mostly, yeah, YouTube, Spotify, etc. That's the best spot.
Well, that's great. I have an Instagram account also. I haven't looked at it in months. I don't know what it. Just, just don't keep up with those things as I
Yeah, it'll
should.
be the death of us for
It'd be
certain.
the death of us. It took me several years to understand Facebook, and I'm good. I'm good and use it very effectively with the things I'm trying to do. So that's very interesting. Well, any last words of encouragement for someone who wants to follow their passion, try something new, get out of their funk?
Yeah. I guess I would say, if you're having trouble, if you're feeling stagnant in what you're doing, if it's a creative pursuit, consider incorporating science. Uh, that was a huge boon for me and for my colleagues. And I think just showing some interest in the planets of our solar system, and, there's literally seven or eight, depending on who you ask, worlds outside of the world that we live on that are in our solar system. You don't need to limit yourself to Earth. Let your creativity spread out through, I mean, I guess the entire galaxy if you want to. But
There you go.
yeah, I think science is it.
Hey, if Captain Kirk could take the whole galaxy on, we can also learn from him.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, this has been fun, Cameron, and we definitely wish you the best in what you're doing. We're going to follow you. I'm going to follow you. It's pretty exciting to hear about different things. I'm really going to be looking at the list of podcast list, and I'd like to hear more about those planets. Definitely see how I can incorporate that, or at least have fun with it. I've got
Yeah.
grandchildren; they would love anything different anyway. So that'd be a
Yeah, it
big
would be
deal.
great for grandchildren.
I love it. All right. Well, we salute you. We wish you the happy holidays, happy New Year, Merry
Happy
Christmas,
holidays
happy
to you as well.
Valentine's Day, Memorial, all those things coming up. So appreciate it. And this has been In the Office with Joseph Skoda and Podcast the List with Cameron Fetter. All
Thank
right,
you so much for
everyone.
having me.
Make sure you subscribe to both of our channels and whatever it is, find your own creative mind and go with it. There are people that want to hear your story. There are people that want to see you succeed. There are people who want to grow side by side with you. If nothing else, do it for you to make sure you're setting a good example. With that being said, you're in the office once again with Joseph Skoda. Have a great day, everyone. If you liked our show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or find us on any social media platform, Instagram, of course, Facebook. Like, subscribe, share. We appreciate it. Let us know your thoughts and join our team. Anyways, we appreciate you staying tuned week after week, day after day, because we continuously build up our network to bring to you what you're asking for. Have a great day.